Okay, let's just get started. So we're going to make the console functionality and also improve great big deal on our inventory system. So the first thing we want to do is we want to go into our content folder and our content drawer, make a folder called base. I'm going to change the color of that, and then let us set up some base classes. We're going to have a player controller base, a game mode base, a HUD class, which I'm going to call, you guessed it, HUD base, and then a game instance, my game instance. Now I also need to activate these over on project settings. So over on maps and modes, you can now expand selected game mode and select that. Third person character, HUD base, PC base, at the bottom my game instance. And now we also have to go into our world settings and game mode override to the one we have. Now that should be all sorted. Now back in our content drawer, I'm going to add a new folder. I'm going to call this one image files. And I'm just going to import some stuff here. I'll be right back. Okay, so in here I just added a slot border and a inventory background. I'm also going to add two more, so hang on. Added a granite and a wood texture from Flaticon. Now, over in our content drawer, let us start working on the inventory system itself. So, inventory system, new folder, set that color as well, green on that. Blueprint class, and this is an active component. And that's the inventory component of the name. Inside of this one, we're going to add a integer and another integer. First one, let's do max slots. Second one, max horizontal slots. Now we do need some other things as well. So inside of our inventory system, let's make a actor called master item, and let's make a new folder, structs and enums. Big E on that. There we go. Inside of structs and enums, we're gonna make a new struct. This is our item info. First one is a text name. Second one, text description. Third one is a texture 2D called icon. Third one is a boolean called stackable. Fourth one, integer max stack size. Next one, boolean usable. Is that how you type that? I don't know. Is it U-S-E? I don't know. Usable. Fifth one, last one is a static mesh type object reference, and it's going to be called static mesh. Close that out. Open up our master item. Okay, now we can add that item info variable. Like so. Compile. Let's make a new folder called items. Right click your master item. Create a child. This is our item stone. Right click, name a new child, item wood. Select both of these, drag them into your items folder. Open up stone. Expand item info. This is a stone. Description, a singular stone. We'll have that granite texture. It's not stackable. One stack says usable, no. And I'm just gonna have a shape tube. Right. On the wood, do the same thing. This is wood. Some kindling. It's gonna have that wood texture. Stackable, yes. 32, not usable. And let's do a narrow capsule on that. That's it for our items. Now, we also want a new folder called interface. And on interface, we're going to have a use widget called WBP inventory. Inside of WBP inventory, we're going to have a canvas, the side on screen. Then we're going to have a image. on the brush, expand that, and now we're going to do our inventory background picture. I'm going to set the image size to be 1000 on that. Decide size to content, and that's it for that. Now I'm also going to have a uniform grid panel, and I'm going to name that image as well. So this is our BG. This grid panel is our player inventory. Size that to content. I'm going to hold down shift and control and dock that in the middle bottom, and then I'm going to set the position Y to be -64. Maybe that's too much, I don't know, we'll see. I'm also going to set slot padding to be 2. And we need another widget blueprint. This is our WBP inventory slot. Inventory slot is going to have a canvas panel as well. Side on screen. Inside of this canvas, we're going to have a image. This image is going to be size to content, and it's going to be our this is going to be our icon. So item icon. I need to see what let's add another image as well. I need to see the size of the border. I think it's 92. It's 128. Okay, this is our slot border. Size that to content. It's 128 by 128. So let's fix that over on our item icon as well. I'm gonna do maybe 100 by 100. No, it's not too much at all. It's the 128 by 128. Like so. That's our item icon, that's our border. I'm also going to add another text. This one is going to stay in the top left. This variable, this is our hotkey text. Actually, shall I do that top right? Where are hotkeys normally? Top left, let's do top left. Says that to content. I'm gonna do num plus on that because I think that is the highest one I'm gonna use. The highest lettered one. Size is 14. I'm going to do regular. Then I'm going to do an outline setting of 1. That's my little hotkey text. I'm going to duplicate that hotkey text, and this one is going to be called my quantity text. I'm going to put that in the bottom right, and this is X256, like so. That's it for our inventory slot. Now we need to go into our graph. Let's add some variables. First one is going to be our index. We do want to be able to reference this directly and not have to update everything. The second one is going to be our inventory ref. Type inventory component. Close and edit on both of those. Now we can start creating, I think. No, we need to go to our inventory component. And we need to add inside of our content drawer and structs and enums, we need to add another structure. This one is going to be our inventory contents. First one is going to be of type master item class. Name item. Second one is going to be quantity. And now we can go back to our inventory component. We can add that. So inventory contents, name that contents, make that an array, and that's it for that. Now we can add another one. This is going to be our inventory slot, WBP reference, and this is slot ref. File save. Now we can start resizing this array that we have to be that of the max slots. And now we can start generating the inventory. So inside of our WBP inventory, let's add a HUD ref. WBP HUD. We don't have a HUD ref. Okay. Inside of our content drawer, I'm going to put it here. So this is probably not a part of your inventory system. So this is going to be just a WBP HUD. Put that in the canvas. Put a canvas in it. Sorry. Inside of this one, on the construct, we're going to cast to my game instance. Object being get game instance. Promote that to game instance ref. Let's also cast to third person character or your player character. Object is get player character. Promote that to player ref. Start of the designer. Now add WBP inventory. Size static content. I'm going to do that in the middle. I'm going to rename this one to player inventory. Our HUD ref inside of our inside of our inventory can now be set to WBP HUD, and that's it for that. Now we can go into our HUD, get our player inventory, set the HUD ref, do that off self. And then over on our WBP inventory, now I want to create a new function. This one's going to be generate player inventory. And the very first thing that we need to do is we need to get our HUD ref, we need to get our player ref, and we need to actually add this into our player as well. So find your player character, my third person character for me, add a component in the top left. This is going to be our inventory component. I'm going to do 9 and 27 because that's what Minecraft does, and I'm going to try to replicate that as much as possible. Now we can go back to our WBP inventory and we can get our inventory component, get our ref, slot ref, and we can clear that array. Like so. Then we can get our grid panel. We can clear children from that. And we can start building. So let's get our inventory component, get our contents, do a for each loop out of the contents, out of the loop body, we're going to create widget, we're going to create this slot, array index goes into index, inventory is our inventory component over here. Should I make this so that it looks a little bit more nice for you guys today? So that I can actually that. We also do need our HUD ref there, so let's just set that up right away. We don't need our HUD ref actually, because yeah, let's set up a direct reference to our HUD ref. So HUD ref WBP HUD, expose and edit, back in our inventory, refresh this, and now let's give it a direct reference to our HUD. Now we can add this one to the array, like so. And finally, we can start adding it to the grid panel. So add child, beautiful grid. Turn off the create widget is the content. Row is the array index divided by our max horizontal. That goes into the row. Like so. Then we can do a division, whole and remainder. Dividend is the array index. Max horizontal is the divisor, same as always, and remainder is the column. That should generate our player inventory. Now, we need to call that, so over on our WBP HUD, out from your player inventory, now we can just duplicate that and then generate player inventory. However, I do want to add a delay of 0.01 because later on we are going to start loading and stuff, and then we want that little delay. So we want to set everything here, and then we want to have a delay, and then we want to start generating. So play now. Nothing actually happens because we haven't actually called our HUD. Set for player HUD base. event graph, begin play, create widget, add to viewport, boom. There we go. Now it is not how we want it. Let's go into our third person character, our inventory. So I have set these the other way around. So we have max slots of 9 and a max slots of 27. It should be 27 and then 9. And there's our inventory. Now, we do need to. This is our player inventory. This is our WBP inventory. Why are you not properly centered, sir? Actually, you are properly centered. It's the inventory background that's too small. I'm going to do 1200 maybe. And let's do like 850 on the height. And then let's do the position of -32. Not on that one, sorry. On the grid panel. 64 maybe? 32. 32 should be fine. There we go. Let's actually make it a little bit wider as well. Just 1250 maybe. And that's our little inventory. Now I do probably want it to be a bit higher as well. So I should have gotten this sorted before I started, but it is what it is. There we go. That is our inventory. Now on let's see how we're gonna do this. Let's add so that we can debug. So inside of our inventory component, inside of our functions, we're gonna create a new one. This one is gonna be set item info at index. Then we're gonna make another one called get item info at index. Get item info at index will be a pure function. It's gonna return 2 and it's gonna have one input. The input is gonna be the index. The output is going to be a master item of type item and a quantity of type integer. I'm just going to promote this to local index to try and keep everything nicer than I usually do. And then I'm going to get a copy at the contents, add our local index, break that. Item goes into item, quantity into quantity, and return. Now we can set item info at index as well. Actually, let's make the slot first. So on our slot, let's make a new custom event called update slot. Update slot is going to get our inventory ref, get item info at index. Index is our index. We can also probably, yeah, let's do that. Inside of our component, validate slot. Validate inventory slot. The validate inventory slot is going to have a input type index and an output type boolean called valid. This is also going to be a pure function. Promote that index to local index. Get your contents, get a copy, it's the same as before. However, this time we are going directly out from the item, calling a valid class, plugging that into valid. Now run our slot. Now we can add from the inventory ref, call validate inventory slot. And our branch. If it's not a valid slot, then we want to set our quantity text to be blank. And we want to set our item icon, set brush from texture to be blank. However, it's true. I want to set the text to be that of format text. Let's go out here. I'm going to do x curly bracket num close curly bracket. The number is the inventory ref get item info at index, like so. Quantity goes into number. I'm going to drag out from the item here. I'm going to type in defaults. Split that, and that gives us our icon. So if we're not valid, set it to blank. If it is valid, set it to the correct information. Now, over on our inventory component, on the get item info index, everything's good. Validate is good. Set item info index, let's do that. So get your contents, set array element, break that. Now, I need all these inputs, and I'm going to size to fit. Always size to fit, but I need all these inputs. So let's set up the index. Let's set up the. Actually, let's add 2 more of those because we need another integer at the end. The middle one is a master item, type item. Last one is a quantity. I'm only going to promote index to local, so local index, and then I'm going to plug in the information accordingly. Now I'm going to plug that one directly into there. Why I promoted it, you'll see in a second. That's because I'm going to use that over here. And then call my update slot. And then we can return. That's our set item info index. Now we need a way to call this. So I'm going to go through my third person character, do a keyboard 1, grab my inventory component, set item info index, plug that into there. I'm going to do a couple of these. So our stone was not stackable, so I'm not going to have a stackable stone. Index 0, index 7, 14, 25. First one is going to be item stone 1. Last one is going to be item stone 1. Other ones are going to be wood 16 and wood 8. Alright, play, hit 1. That is going to populate our information accordingly. Now let's also fix the hotkey for a second. So inside of our components list, now we're going to add another inventory component. I'm going to call this one AB1 or action bar 1. AB1 is going to have 12 max slots, 1 max horizontal. Back in our HUD, add a uniform grid. I'm going to center it to the middle bottom. Variable, this one is going to be our AB1 GP, AB1 grid panel. I'm also going to get my inventory here, and I'm going to do that in the top middle instead. Looks a bit wonky, doesn't it? It's a bit too big, that's the problem. Go into our inventory, and let's change the inventory slot. Let's go to that. Our icon, let's change that to be 92 by 92. Stop border 92, 92, and that should take care of the problem with the size. Go into our inventory again. Our background, change that to be 1800. That should be the right one. That's the thing. There we go. And now on our HUD, we can move this to the middle again, like so. On our HUD, we're going to make a new function. This one is going to be generate action, generate AB1. Inside of our third person character, we're going to add a new variable. This one is going to be our hotkeys. Type is going to be key, and it's going to be an array. And here I'm going to add 11 elements, 12 elements, yeah. And I'm just going to populate them with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, plus, minus, star. That's our hotkeys. Back in our HUD now, I can now go into our player ref, get AB1, get ref, clear the ref, get my AB1 grid panel, clear that. I can get my AB1 again, get contents, do a for each loop out of the contents, and also before we forget, over on our WBP inventory slot, Go into your graph. Here we're going to set up a new variable. It's going to be key, of type key, editable and exposed. Back on our HUD, in the loop body, we can now create widget. That's going to be the inventory slot. Index is the index. Inventory ref is the AB1 inventory ref from a player. HUD ref is coming from ourselves. Hotkey comes from our player ref. Get key, get hotkeys, and then we can just get a copy at the array index that we're working with, and that is going to be our hotkey. Let's get these slot refs again. Hate that I do this differently every time. Let's add this one to that array. And then let's start populating the grid panel. Add child to uniform grid. Content is the content that we are creating. Array index divided by, you know, the drill, same as before. Ah, crap, come on. There we go. Player ref AB1, get max horizontal, gives you your row, division, whole and remainder. Dividend is the index as before, horizontal is the device as before, remainder goes into column as before. Now we can go into our event graph. After we generate the player inventory, now we can generate our AB1. That's not how you do that. AB1 max horizontal is going to be 12 as well. There we go. That's our little thing. Now over on our inventory slot, over on construct, what I want to do now is I want to check if key is valid key. If key is not a valid key, then we want to continue and let's do a update slot maybe. Actually, I'll not fuck with that right now. If our key is not valid, we're going to set text of the hotkey to be blank. However, if it is valid, we're going to get our key, get the display name, and plug that in. I'll play now. That goes there. That is fine. Yeah, let's call our update slot after we have constructed. That's going to take care of the rest of the items. Inside of my HUD, I am going to go into my AB1 GP. I'm going to set the padding to be 2. Just so it's a little bit more spread. And maybe also set the position Y to be -16. A little bit up, like so. In the designer of the HUD, on the player inventory, I'm now going to hide that. And I think that's enough for episode 1. In the next episode, we are going to be adding drag and drop and doing that, and maybe just as well while we're at it. Okay, until then, bye bye.